All right, we're flowing. Had a little bit of technical difficulties. I don't know why I'm telling everybody because it's not like they were waiting for us to start. It's just the two of us. Um, but we're here. We're live to us at least.
Yes,
We didn't actually do our usual pre-show catch-up. How was your
I
Mother's
know.
Day?
My Mother's Day was good. It was a little unique because I wasn't with my child. Took a road trip to Ohio to visit Ben's family. Alexander had the option to come, and he did not love the idea of a almost 7 hour ish road trip. Although we broke it up by stopping at a gosh, what are the Pittsburgh Pirates? Pirates game. The stadium was awesome. We stopped there Friday night,
Nice.
and then we what was it?
I said nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And then we made our way to Ohio, and we went to a Guardians, aka Indians game, against the Phillies, which was kind of fun on Saturday night. We had really great weather. Um, and of course, the day before we're leaving, and I gave Alexander so many options. Are you sure you don't want to come? I want you to make the decision that you want. And of course, the day before, he's like, I kind of want to come. And I'm like, it's too late, buddy. And it's hard because as a mom, you want to do whatever you can to make your child happy. But as a mom also that's teaching her son that when you make decisions, sometimes, you have to stand in that
Yeah.
decision. And there were baseball tickets involved, and he's like, I'll just sit in the car while you guys go in the game. I'm like, no, you're not doing that. Um, so I said there will be times when it's optional to come, and there'll be times when it's not optional. So he's already on board for the next road trip out. Um, but we were there on Sunday. So it was great to be able to celebrate with Ben's mom, and of course everyone wished me happy Mother's Day as well, but a little different not being with my own
Yeah.
kiddo. Yeah. But it was nice. It was it's always changing. And I think that's just my life too. How about you?
Yeah. Mine was lovely. Saw my mum and then spent the rest of the day at the in-laws celebrating Amy and her mother. It was very nice. Nice
Nice.
to just take your foot off the gas for a little bit and
Yeah.
focus on what the important things are, right? Because
Yeah.
mothers are the entryway to life. So
Everything.
yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second. So I came home, my mom was here, she had made homemade pizza. I had put her Mother's Day card out
Well,
before I left.
pause. Was it fake pizza with fake cheese?
It's not fake cheese, it's just cheese without pus and blood in it.
So it's not real cheese. Okay.
Often we don't put any cheese on. We'll just do
Okay.
like a red pie with
Okay.
veggies and things like that. So yeah, and listen, I'm a proponent of my non-dairy based cheeses, but we really try to eat more whole food plant based. So really anything processed, if we can avoid it, we will.
Yeah.
So she made a beautiful plant based pizza, and I had put her Mother's Day card out before I left because I wanted her to know that I was thinking of her, right? So she was going to wake up on Sunday morning without me there.
Yeah.
So came home, we had a good catch up, a good chat, and she had made me a card, which was very sweet. And I from the outside I make sure my mom has a place to live, and all of those things, and I am the person bringing the money into the household and taking care of. But I always expressed to her that without her support, everything that she does for me, between laundry and making sure that Alexander's covered if for some reason I've got to be traveling, like the only reason I can be successful is because of the support that I have from her. And as she's had health challenges recently, it's like it's really it's an eye opener. I mean, when who you depend on in your life, but when those things start to shift, um, I think gratitude steps in even in deeper because you really appreciate things that you can actually take for granted.
Yeah.
So so it was good. And I'm always so grateful. I have the kind of mom where I go to the store and every single card I pick up, I could give her because she's everything. She's all of those things. Um, so yeah, so that was nice.
Yeah. Love it.
we jump in?
Let's jump in.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else we need to catch up on? Journaling.
Did you journal?
I did not journal every day, but I did journal.
Okay,
So
it's a
I'm not
start.
sure. Yes. And I have to say, the first day that I journaled, I was having a tough day. And about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes into my journaling, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm doing a little better today than I actually thought I was. So it was really good. And I was like, oh, this is meant to do. So
Yeah,
it just clicked right back in. So I
that's
am
good.
gonna continue with it. I kind of wrote some notes to myself, but not in my journal format while I was traveling. Um, and I realized that I love my prompts that I have, but I'm thinking I might go ahead and onto like a Canva or something like that and actually make a journal with the prompts that I can print out. 'Cause I know the prompts. I don't necessarily
Yeah,
need them on the page, but I kinda like them on the page. So, I'm thinking about creating a journal, and I'll use it for me, and then, of course, I can share it.
yeah. No, that's great. And I want to point out to the audience just how Tara gave herself grace there. She didn't beat herself up for not doing it every single day. I think a lot of people, when they're trying to start new habits, they become their own worst enemy, and it's this like vicious feedback loop of negativity of like, well, I didn't do it every day, so I'm useless. Why do I bother doing it? And then you just don't do it, and
But
you've got to give yourself the grace, and this is a new habit, it's a new behavior, so that means there's going to be give and take with things you replace that habit with, or the time you allocate for it. These are all new things to make adjustments in your lifestyle. So you've got to give yourself grace when you're trying to do that.
not on this podcast, but next podcast, one of my big ahas that came up from journaling and things that have been happening is, right, the beauty of when you can be like, "This is out of my control," right? Letting go. Which I think is important. And there are definitely things that we can't control and things that we can control. But something that came up for me, it was like, ooh, well, how about when that's just an excuse, right? Like, well, that's out of my control. Well, there are things that are in your control. Staying in the environment is in your control. So I ended up writing an article and just did a deep personal dive into where that let go of things that you can't control, where that actually can become a crutch. Like, I believe gratitude can also become a crutch.
Yeah.
So, not for today, but I actually want to talk about it more with you privately, and then I think we should do a podcast around it because it was actually pretty powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. So, what is our topic of the episode?
We're going to continue with our 10 relational commitments of an accountable leader. Um,
Hmm.
and I stressed relational commitments because I'm constantly getting off of calls with these corporations that we're working with, amazing companies, and have these fantastic, C-suite meetings, and they all go to tactical. And tactical is so important. And I love me some action steps, you know that. But we are missing the relational side of business. So, this is one of the 10 relational commitments that creates high performance cultures, that breeds profitability, all of the things that we want that we tend to go towards, but they start with this. So, the relational commitment today is committing to a safe space, and that is not just a physically safe space. Like, I just hung up with a big steel company that we're working with. They have plants where people could literally die, in their
Right.
day-to-day work.
Mhm.
So safety is huge for them. They're constantly having safety trainings and safety conversations. So when we come in and start talking about emotional safety, it's like a huge shift, right? Because I think about physical safety. Um, I don't know if this is a quote, but this is something that Sam had brought to my attention. And what you allow in your space, you condone, and what you condone, you're creating.
Mhm.
And this ties back to, why I left the medical group that I was internal corporate coaching for, because there were things that I was not doing, but it was happening in my space. And if I wasn't speaking up against it or out, in not in support of this type of behavior, silence is approval.
Yeah.
So if you're allowing something to happen in your space, whether it's happening to you or happening to someone around you, and you're being silent or neutral, like there's no neutral, you are condoning it. So as a leader, and as a coach, to me, that's the number one most important thing is creating a
Hmm.
space of safety where people feel heard, they feel safe to bring their ideas. Doesn't mean that you're going to do all of their ideas, but they feel emotional safety around expressing what's happening for them, innovative ideas that they see, challenges, maybe something that they're having. Even maybe they see something in you as their leader that maybe is going against the core values of the company. Creating that space as a leader is an absolute must. You've talked about, you told a story where your dad, kind of created a space for
Yeah.
you. He followed you out on that walk. So whether you're leading business or you're leading your family or your friends or your children, the commitment to a safe, psychologically safe space
Yeah.
is what we're talking about today.
Yeah, and I think it is a very underappreciated aspect when it comes to leadership. And when you're talking about business, I don't think there's anything worse for morale than when your employees or your leadership team or anybody doesn't feel safe to express how they feel. And when there's no kind of pressure relief valve for anyone to voice concerns to or anything like that they see that needs to be changed, they they build resentment towards you. They stop caring, probably start looking for other places to go. And then when you start thinking about relationships, same thing happens, right? If you're not providing your partner with a safe space to tell you how they feel,
Mm,
you don't have to agree with them and you can have disagreements about it, but you've got to let them voice it.
yeah. It's it can breed passive aggressiveness. It
Hmm.
can breed, to me, one of the most dangerous things, well, in business, but I could also see it in personal, is this justification. They start doing things to justify, well, this is not safe for me here. They don't appreciate me here. I think that's where employee stealing comes in a lot, right? They justify taking from the company because they feel like you're taking from them and they have no other way around it. So
Yeah.
they start disconnecting. To me, the quietest partner, the quietest employee, that's the most dangerous. Right? When people just retreat back, you don't know what's going on, you don't know what's happening in their brain. And I think
Yeah.
most people could look at that in their personal life where they were in a relationship where they had someone who was really vocal and kind of fighting for the relationship or fighting to be heard because they want to be understood. Um, for the relationship, for the success of the relationship, when that person retreats, and I've even been the person that's retreated and kind of like thrown my hands up. Um, that's a real red flag to recognize in a partner or an employee
Yeah.
or in yourself.
So what tips or advice can we give people to make sure that they are providing that safe space?
Yeah,
One of the things when you're talking about meetings or even just in a group discussion about something when you're among friends or family, I always make sure that I ask every single person what their thoughts are.
yeah,
And I just think that's so key. There's nothing worse. I've had the feedback before that I'm quiet in meetings, and that's often just because I don't really want to say anything until I feel like it's going to provide any value. Like the answer is very simple. Just ask me.
yes,
Hey, what do you think?
yeah. I love that you just brought that up. I speak with a lot of senior level leaders, and I hate this term mid-level management, but that's a lot of where the work
Yeah.
revolves around. And often they're like, I don't understand. I have an open door policy. Like I tell them, come to me. And what people don't realize is that going back to disc, right? There's the natural personality style, the S's and the C's. They don't walk through open doors often, right?
Mm.
You have to ask them exactly what you just said. They need the leader to say, "What are your thoughts? What do you think?" Because often they won't speak up unless they feel that what they're going to contribute is 100% right. They have the data to fully back it up because they don't want to put wrong information out there. They can also not want to really take up time or space if they're working with a really high D, high I leader. They get very used to those people kind of absorbing all the air in the room.
Yeah.
So they step back. So if you're leading, again, whether you're a parent or a manager or a C-suite leader, and you go, my people aren't coming to me, but I tell them I have an open door policy. Well, there's a reason. Like, there's a reason certain people walk through the door, and there's a reason certain people don't. And that is just their natural behavior style. And they need you to ask them for their input. And they'll happily give it, but they won't volunteer it typically.
Now, what do we think? I feel like there's kind of two parts to it, right? There's the surface level, yes, give someone the space to express how they feel or give their opinion. But what happens if you repeatedly just say, okay, thank you, and then don't action on it or don't use the thoughts or advice or concerns that they have to make any changes?
Right. Or use it against them, or they have one experience where they
Yeah.
thought they were doing the right thing, they got blamed, and then they retreat. Um, there's a difference between listening to someone and someone feeling heard. So
Yeah.
there's different ways to acknowledge. My one of my favorite things, and we've talked about this before, is when someone's coming to me, my natural instinct is to go into solutions mode. And this is Alexander taught me this. Not everyone's looking for a solution. Sometimes people just want to be heard.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just need a hug. And so that, you and I were both reading the 5 types of wealth, and Sahil Bloom,
Hmm.
it was helped, heard, or hugged. And he added the hugged part to this conversation. Because Alexander said to me, Mom, sometimes I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen to me.
Yeah.
And that was huge. So because I know my natural tendency, so think about what your natural tendency is. My natural tendency is to jump into solutions mode, which truthfully, I don't even fully listen because once I hear the problem, my brain is already shifting to how can I help them? What are the genius solutions that I can come up with? I'm still listening to them, but I'm not really hearing. So if they say, yes, I want you to help me, I want a solution, I let my brain do what it normally does. Or if they say, you know what? I'm not sure. I don't think I need you to fix it for me. I just really need to get this out, or I just really need to be heard. I tell my brain, okay, you got this time off. Just be
Yeah.
focused and listen. Um, so acknowledging back, repeating back what the person said is key. Um, Acknowledging like, hey, I hear you think that this should change or this is frustrating you. Use their words back to them and don't overcommit. Don't say that something's going to change if you don't have an intention to change it. Um, so make sure that you're careful about what you're committing to from that. And it may just sometimes it's setting the stage of, yeah, we want to hear your input, we want your feedback. It doesn't mean that we're always going to implement it, but it is
Yeah.
valuable to us.
Yeah. And I think that is one key point is just don't just pay lip service to your partners or to your employees or your team because that is going to end up building resentment. If they don't feel actually heard,
Yeah.
you're just not actually listening. It's just kind of being received and put to the side.
Yeah.
And if you don't value their opinion in the first place, then maybe they shouldn't be part of the team or you shouldn't be with them, and that's how it is.
Exactly.
Um, that is a big issue, and I've worked with people like that where they've had big meetings, everybody's given in their thoughts and all these big exercises and leadership drills, and then nothing happens,
Yep. Same
and
thing, and then you
it's
have the next meeting, and it's the same conversation, and nobody does
yeah.
anything. And that's where the tactical comes into this relational, right? The
Hmm.
relational commitment is I'm committing to a safe space emotionally, right? So I'm committing as a relational commitment to listen to you, to hear you, to give you that platform. There is a tactical side of it, though. Okay, so what do
Yeah.
we do from that? But that tactical is still tied to really trust comes into play. So it can build resentment, but the resentment comes because I don't know that I can trust this person because they've either used it against me, what I've shared with them. They told me they were going to do something and they didn't do it. So now I don't trust them. And then it leads to, frustration,
Yeah.
resentment, anger, all of these things that are actually very surface emotions to hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to that helped, hugged, and heard, I got that right, right? Wrong order, but whatever.
Whatever.
Um, I think when we're talking about safe space, a lot of it comes down to how you react can affect the space and how safe it feels.
Yes.
So that's the whole thing of like, oh, you're might have an open door policy. It's like, yeah, but no one wants to walk in there
Right.
because they don't know how you're going to react. And I read this book a long time ago, Dancing with Anger.
Mm.
Really impacted me just in how I react to other people's emotions now. It determines how things, the course of the conversation, the course of that interaction, how that's going to change. So that's something I think people have to be really cognizant of, is how am I reacting to what people are telling me, because that will determine how safe that space feels. And
Verbally and
a lot,
non-verbally.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you rolling your eyes? Maybe you're not, and
Mm,
are you reacting or are you responding? Um,
mm,
being really aware of the nonverbal cues that you're giving, as
yeah,
well. I'll often
yeah,
have leaders that talk about having an open door policy, and then there's those few people that they dread when they're going to walk through the door because they know that person's going to launch in to a whole bunch of stuff that's not necessarily they don't believe relevant, and they're also trying to get things done. So they'll tell me, "Well, I just start looking at my computer and like listening but doing work." And they want to give them the cue to be like, "Now it's time for you to leave."
yeah,
And unfortunately, their open door policy now worked against them because that person's going, "Well, geez, they're not even paying attention to me." So instead of just having that direct conversation of saying, "Hey, great, I see you've got something to talk to me about. Is it urgent?" Yes, something's happening right now. I have to talk to you. Okay. I've got 5 minutes. Let me put a stop to this what I'm doing right now and then focus on that person,
mm,
but set the time frame. I've got 5 minutes, right? And if we need to
yeah,
revisit it, we can. Or is this urgent? No, it's not urgent. It's something that's happening next week. Okay, great. I've got to finish what I'm doing now, but can you come back to my office in an hour? Whatever it is, create those you have to create those spaces. It's not about you just being constantly available and perfect and the perfect response and reaction all of the time. You have to you have to create those spaces, and you have to know when you're also setting yourself up for success,
yeah,
um in that, cuz often you're trying to do the right thing but it backfires, because
yeah. And you said that about create. You have to create the safe space, and I was just thinking that I think leaders can get it wrong sometimes, and even in relationships and friendships. Why should the person have to come through your door? Why aren't you going to them,
yes.
checking in on them, giving them the opportunity to then speak
Yes.
on their home turf, if that's at their desk or at their house or wherever it is. That can the location of the physical safe space can
Yes.
make a huge difference in how someone is going to feel giving you feedback and stuff.
Yeah. I have another thing that I've been using more recently, and that's I start with my end goal, a parent. So for myself, or if I'm coaching people that have to have what I would call a fierce conversation, or a conversation that could, you're not eye to eye with someone. So I will start with, I need to have a conversation with you, but I want you to know, let's just go personal, that I believe in our relationship and I want us to be together.
Yeah,
Right? So there's no guess. I'm not leading in with something, "This hurt me, you did this, I did this." And that person's going, "Well, I don't know where this is going." Already said where my intention is for it to go, and my intention is for it that we repair this break and that we move forward together. And that whether that's a personal relationship or a professional relationship. Because it takes the guesswork out. So if you're working with
yeah,
someone who's a high I's biggest fear is rejection and breaking that relationship. So if I set it up from the beginning that I want us to stay working together. I want us to work through this. I want us to stay in our relationship, in our marriage, and or whatever it is. You automatically allow that person's walls to stay down a little bit more because they're like, okay, this person wants to work together with me on this.
yeah,
I have found that is very helpful in how the information is received.
definitely. And, it's interesting. I was Gary V's back on the podcast circuit. I think he's got some new brand he's launching or something.
Mhm.
Um, but he said something. He's been saying it for years, and I really identify with it because it's the same. My biggest weakness as a leader, which is what he says his is too, is his ability or inability to be candid with people,
Mm,
be able to give them honest feedback
mm.
because you're afraid of upsetting them and hurting their feelings. Um, and that I think can really affect this. I think when we're talking about commitments here, we've also got to commit to, part of the safe space is being honest with people. Like
Yes.
if you come to me and I don't give you my honest feedback and that's
Yes.
something you need, then I'm actually not creating a safe space. So we're actually doing people disservice when we're, just giving them things that they want to hear or kind of beating around the bush. And I know that's my weakness as a leader, and I'm sure Amy's laughing because I'm quite comfortable sharing my feelings at home, but in a workplace definitely, and even amongst friendships and family, is I find it difficult to give people the honest feedback they need because I don't want to upset them.
So, two things with that. True candidness, that has to be earned, in my opinion. You do not have permission to be candid with someone if you have not, if they don't know that you care about them.
That's true. Yeah.
So, I'll call it caring and candor. You can't have candor
Mm.
without caring. You can, it's not gonna be successful if you just come at
Right.
someone with your candidness, but you have to earn that, and if someone knows that you're coming from a caring place, and that's where the candor is coming from, that's totally different, but if you have not invested in a relationship with getting to know someone, understand someone, be vulnerable with that person back, you have not earned the right to be candid. And that's where these people go, "Oh, my friends all come to me and they know if they ask me if I like their haircut, I'm going to tell them it looks terrible." Like that's stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's not the type of candidness people are looking for, right? It's there's this like, "Oh, I just speak my mind." Well, that's great for you, but is that actually doing anything good for the people around you?
There's
If
another C word I'm fond of that refers to that type of person. Yeah.
the see you next Tuesday?
Uh huh.
All right, so you need I'm gonna just sweep right by that. Um, you can't have candor without caring. If people don't know you care, then you can't be candid.
Can't have candor without caring. Otherwise, you're just a.
See you next Tuesday.
Yep, there you go.
Nobody wants to be around that. The other thing, even when you have the relationship of there's an establishment of caring, ask for permission. Right? I always ask for permission. Well, I try to always ask for permission. Do I have permission to be direct with you? Do I have permission to be straight? And then there's another level to that because most people will say yes. And then I'll say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how direct can I be? Right?
Yeah.
Because naturally I'm high I, high D. I'm very, very direct, but I'm also very interpersonal. So I don't want to upset someone. But I know that my directness is different than your directness. So I'll say on a scale of 1 to 10, how direct do you want me to be? And they'll be like, oh, I want you could be a 10. So then I say,
Yeah.
okay, what does a 10 sound like, feel like, look like to you? Well, it would be like, well, come into my office, ask me how I am, maybe check on me first. Automatically, I already know their 10 is like a my 3.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if I just took it at face value and they said be a 10 and I came at them with my 10, I would have erupted the entire relationship. But by asking that additional qualifying question, okay, tell me, what does your 10 feel like? And that I'm using words like feel, sound,
Hmm.
because it's a very emotional conversation. Doesn't have to be emotional, but
That's a great point too about the safe space, right? It's not just physical, it's not just verbal.
mhm,
There's the body language you have to be able to read. I the people I've worked with before, well, they'll stand in the doorway, standing up while other people are sitting and having
yeah,
conversations. Like, well, no one's going to be talking to you directly because, you know, think about how that looks and how
yeah,
that feels to everybody.
yeah.
It's
When,
like you're not joining them in the room. You're not sat at
no,
their level. I think get into people as biggest thing I learned as a parent is get down to your kids' level and talk to them eye to eye. Don't stand
Absolutely.
over them.
Absolutely. When when the first couple times, and I still do it if I'm ever on stage speaking where people are coming up after to talk, if I haven't gotten off stage, I would all of a sudden find myself, I'm kneeling on the
Yeah,
stage, and it looks funny from afar, but, like, my your instinct is just to get.
I think I've seen video of it actually
Yeah,
from at school. Yeah.
probably. Um, I don't wanna be towering over someone, and if
Right.
I haven't been able to got up, like, sometimes people come up and, like, they're emotional, like, they're moved in that moment, and I'm not gonna say, "Oh, hold on, let me go, walk halfway across stage and come down to you." Like, I will kneel on the stage, in my heels, in my skirt, and, like, hugging people or talking, and it's body language is more than the words that you say. And there's
Yeah.
so many studies with that. So, it's those nonverbal cues that you have to be really cognizant about, um, when you're creating, and not only creating the space, but holding the space when it gets uncomfortable. That's what the leader needs to do. When
Yeah.
someone's attacking you, I've had some employees, especially with the cafe, kinda tell me off. Speak their candid mind to me. Um, that's where you wanna take that breath, let the emotion, the reactiveness go down your spine, come back up to your
Mhm.
prefrontal cortex where logic resides, where you're not, an hour later going, "Oh my god, I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I hadn't let, them push me to there." But, um, it's the creating the safe space, but it's also holding the safe space even when it gets challenging.
Yeah, definitely. And I think acknowledging, you said it earlier, acknowledging that everybody's space is different and their
Mhm.
requirements are different is really big. And I think a lot of leaders fail in that respect where they think that they've, this is how I'm going to, create this for my team, and it works for like one or two people,
Right.
but they're not nimble enough to make adjustments for everybody else. So there are some people that need that 2 hour, just rabbit at you for the
Right.
whole time. And I've experienced this with in my training career. I've been doing it 20 years now. Every client's different. There are some people that, I barely say a word the whole session. They're just chatting, chatting,
Mhm,
chatting, chatting.
mhm,
There are some people who neither of us talk for the whole time.
mhm.
Their safe space is just to be quiet.
Yeah.
And there are some folks where I have to actively engage them a bit more. And you learn to read people and even going back to, yes, we need different safe space for every person. Each situation is going to require a different type of space for that person.
Yeah.
That helped, hugged, and heard is going to be different for every situation. It's not
Yes.
just for per person. In some situations, yeah, I just want to hug. Some
Yes.
situations I need to help. Some situations I just want to rent. I want to vent and rant and get it off my chest.
And some people you're never gonna hug because that will totally erode the
Yeah.
relationship. Um, you just had me thinking about something, and that's consistency. So
Hmm.
if you are really an emotional, moody leader and people don't know what to expect from you, that is one of the
Yeah.
most unsafe places. So I would always joke, especially when I was in the restaurant industry, like, if you're gonna come in a bad mood, you better come in a bad mood every day, because if that's just how you are and then it's my decision
Yes.
to keep you here, then fine, but you don't get to come in a bad mood one day, a good mood another day. No one knows what to expect from you, and I'll cite the soup Nazi, right, from Seinfeld. People line up outside the soup Nazi kitchen, and they know that they're gonna be insulted when they go in and not, probably not have good customer service, but they're going to get the suit that they love. So they'll continue to go because they already know what to expect. But if
Yeah.
they go one day and it's fantastic service and then they go another day and it's bad service, that's where people they that's unsafe. People will move away from that. So if you're constantly emotionally roller coastered up and down and people don't know what to expect from you, they don't know how to approach you.
Yeah.
So think about how you show up and if you want to consistently show up like that. And if you've been real moody and grumpy and decide, yeah, that's how I want to consistently show up, then keep doing it because then your people will adjust to that. But if you're like, what, this isn't really me, this is not me, this is not how I want to show up, then you've got to make an adjustment to it. Then you've got to be committed to keeping yourself in that frame of mind and that mindset consistently.
Yeah, and I think you've got to commit to yourself to hold these safe spaces, and part of that is understanding who you are.
Hmm.
And there are some ways of doing that, like the disc assessment.
Hmm.
How about it? That was a fucking great transition.
I
What
feel
a
like
segue.
I feel like we've been talking about the disc. The disc is like, I just love it because it's a tool that we don't have to guess. Right. And if we're working with a team, and if Ben's taken it, my son's taken it, you've taken it. I have ever shared my disc with you?
I think you did. I
Okay.
think you did.
I will if I haven't. Um, I'm trained in disc. I've done over 2,000 of them at this point. So I can pick up on
Try
cues.
try saying that 5 times quickly. I'm trained in disc.
I'm I would attempt it, but I know where you're going with that, and there's so many comments I can make, but I won't. Um, why guess when we have a tool that we can just get this insight into people to help each other understand and communicate better? Every single problem that every relationship has, whether it's personal or corporate or whatever it is, it's communication and expectations.
Yep.
So we have this tool that you and I are going to talk. We want to do something where we can give this tool to our listeners for a really, really reasonable price. Um, it's not. It's There's a light version of it, but to me, that's just the gateway drug to try to get you in to buy something more. And I don't want to do that for
Yeah.
people. I really want to be able to give people their report. And not everyone has. It's $3,500 a month to coach with us. Not everyone has those means, but I really believe in this tool, and I know you believe in this tool. So let's commit to finding a way to bring it to our
Yeah.
listeners where they can get their reports at like a really reasonable price. Um, and then we can open the door to conversation and how we can come alongside and support. But
Yeah. Well, I
it's
think actually what we'll do for that is we can record a podcast, and we can have a link to it where we go through all the different combinations, high
wild.
D,
Yeah.
high I, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I found really eye opening was, I'm pretty self aware. I kind of know who I am, but it
Mhm.
was really interesting to be like, oh, that's why I hate sitting in long meetings,
Right.
because I'm a high D and I want to just I want to get to the point. I don't like all the shit around it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I react to that kind of person in that way. Oh, all right, now I can be aware of that, and that really is interesting. And then you start seeing other people through a different lens, like, oh, they're a high S, so I have to treat them differently now, and it really
They
does
want
help.
systems, they want stability. I was working with the CEO for from a non for profit for this. They work with autistic individuals, and he's like really, really even keel. He comes from a really diplomatic family and has kind of learned that showing emotions wasn't a positive thing. So he's
Yeah,
gotten really good at masking it, but no one knows what to expect from him. No one really understands when he's happy, when he's sad, when he's frustrated, because he's really good at kind of masking it because he's been rewarded for that in the past. And so his HR person is really high I. So she will often say to him where she would see him retreat. She would go, "What do you need? What do you need? What do you need?" And he's like, "It's not what I need, it's what the company needs." And so yesterday I was having a one-on-one session with him and I was like, "You do know that she's a high I. Her biggest fear is rejection and having a break in the relationship. So when she's asking you what it is that you need, that's her way of keeping the relationship together." You would have thought I said the most genius thing in the whole world from a person who, like, literally doesn't even move his hands. He was like, "Oh my god. Oh my god. This makes so much sense." And it was the simplest little thing, but it just hit him and he got it. In that moment, he got it. So instead of fighting her and going, "It's not what I want, it's what the company wants," he goes like, "Okay, this person is trying to stay connected with me. This person is trying to do what I want to have done, which is for the company." But it creates this grace and this understanding where people move from, why is this person in questioning me? Because they don't trust me. No, that's not why they're questioning you. They're questioning you because they want to fully understand something so that they can give the right answer.
Yeah.
They're actually doing it for you, but we take it at the face value of they're questioning me because they don't trust me. Or maybe I'm a person who's really analytical and you could bring me all the ways that you feel about something, but I can't make decisions off of that. I make decisions based off of black and white data. Like, where's the report? Where's, if you need me to make a decision and I'm a high C, you got to bring me some research
Yeah.
if you want me to make a decision favorable, right? So again, the person doing the communicating, it's not that you're changing for the other person. It's actually a form of manipulation. If you really look at it at the most basic
Yeah.
level, it's, how can I present this information to this person that receives information in a different way than I deliver? Because I want them to make a decision, favorable to me. Well, okay,
Yeah.
I can look at that. And then I just tweak how I present it. I mean, that's
I
sales
love that.
101 too. I
Yeah.
mean, DISC is
And
phenomenal for sales.
even when you start thinking about, your relationship with your kids and who they are and how, like Mason always needs reassurance of what exactly we're doing, where we're going, or what time, and like I tell me once and I don't want to hear it. Like I
Right.
don't want any
What
any
needs to be
fluff.
done? Yeah.
So
So we have something called the accountable leaders terms of change. There's what people, just tell me what needs to get done and let me do it. There's
yeah,
why people, well, tell me like why are we making this change? Because this was stable, but why are we making this change?
yeah,
Um and then there's how people, like, how are we going to make this change? Like, how is this going to happen? What's the big picture? And then there's people that need all three of those things. Um, so that's DISC, that's accountable leader terms of change. There's so many great things, but they work and they're
yeah,
simple. And it's just about taking a moment to step back and go, how do I create a safe emotional space for the people that are around me? How do I help them understand how I communicate? And how do I understand how they communicate? And then it's a win all around. So
yeah.
why would we not do that if we have access to it?
I agree, and I think I would highly recommend everybody take us up on this, because, like you said, it is a bit of an investment. So just having this information is priceless. I think it's worth whatever investment it takes. But if we can offer it to you guys at a good price, then I definitely would recommend you do that. I don't know if we'll be ready in time to put a link to it in this episode, but definitely the next one. We've got to
Yeah.
figure out logistics on that.
So let's make a commitment now, you and I, within the next two episodes, we've got at least an opportunity for people to raise their hand.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool. It's life changing.
it
It's
really
like,
is.
and it's simple.
Yeah, and a lot of the time you'd be like, oh, why did I never think of that? But sometimes you just got to hold that mirror up. You don't,
Yep.
have a good look. Have someone else tell you what they see.
And sometimes we're not ready. I mean, the information can only meet you
Yeah,
where you're at.
true.
And that's the cool thing. It's just a tool. There's tools everywhere. I mean, you can
Yeah,
go take free assessments. There's free assessments everywhere. Some tools are better than others.
right.
And reputation is also another commitment, but we'll talk about that in a future episode. But there's not a lot of things that you and I don't do a lot of sponsorship of anything because we take it very seriously if we're going to promote something.
Hmm.
Because our reputations are attached to this, and DISC is something that you and I have both used together and individually. Um, and it's just cool and it's
Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
and I'm thinking about I should probably have my coaching clients do it before we start working together.
absolutely.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
I think I still want Amy to take it so you guys can sit in bed
I
and like
know,
exchange reports.
I know. We'll get there. I haven't actually mentioned it to her, so
Okay.
maybe if she's listening, she'll hear
Do it, Amy. We'll send you the link.
it.
All right, we are at time.
We're at time.
It's great seeing you. I love our weekly sessions together.
I know it's nice, and then we just get to share our conversations with everybody.
Yes.
And I would say there's probably only about 10% of what we talk about that wouldn't get said on the show. And
Yeah.
I think that is the reason we're able to coach at the level we coach at, is because we're very vulnerable in that respect. That really, I think the most of what we don't talk about is to protect other people's privacy. There's not really anything that you and I wouldn't share in
Yeah.
public,
Yep.
because you gotta be true to yourself and be comfortable with it.
Yeah. And I really don't have the energy to keep filtering everything. So yeah, you're exactly right. If it's to protect someone else, we're tentative or we're a little cautious about how it comes out. But otherwise, the amount of energy that we waste trying to filter and just
Yeah.
be someone that we're not, that's exhausting. I don't have time for that.
That's honestly a whole other topic, and I can already tell we're about to go down a rabbit hole. So do your
Yep.
outro.
All right. Until next time, friends. Bye for now.